Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to heal the subscribe button, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, following our MC, a college professor, we see him slaving away on his research, only to be called by one of his associates, reminding him that he has a meeting to attend. Finishing up a meeting, our MC realizes that he needs a quick break. Munching on a sandwich, it's revealed that our MC had lost his younger sister to an incurable disease. Mad at the world for its incompetence, and choosing to create medicine, to ensure such a thing never happens to anyone again. After experimenting with some chemicals, our MC realizes that he's been working for 25 hours straight, scribbling the time he's worked on his wrist, and resting up for the next day. Setting an alarm, our MC slowly drifts off. Just like that, our MC passes away in his sleep, waking up in another world, where he lays eyes on a maid. Called Pharma, the maid advises that Pharma not sit up too fast, as he was recently struck by lightning. Realizing that he's not in his regular body, and in a completely different world, Pharma sits on the bed, listening to the maid. Believing that Pharma had lost some memories after the lightning strike, the maid tells Pharma his full name is Pharma de Medicis, but Pharma realizes that he probably passed away in his sleep. Next, the maid officially introduces herself as Charlotte, or Lot for short. Seeing his bandages, Pharma asks Lot to remove them for him, which she happily does, running off to get the proper equipment. As Pharma glances at his wrist, he confirms that his previous life was not a dream. As Pharma cleans up, Lot realizes that Pharma has been marked by Paniktheos, a god that Lot believes protected Pharma during the lightning strike. As Lot prays, thanking the god for protecting Pharma, Pharma learns that Paniktheos is the god of medicine. Seeing Pharma so confused, Lot gets afraid. Fearing that Pharma had lost some memories, Lot decides to refresh Pharma's memories. Walking through the mansion, Lot states that Pharma belongs to a household of pharmacists, with his father being the president of the Imperial School of Pharmacy, along with being a royal pharmacist and an archduke noble. Seeing a portrait of his father, Bruno, his mother, Beatrice, his younger sister, Blanche, and his older brother, Pal, Pharma learns that his father is expecting great things from him, as his older brother is already considered elite. Lot brings up how Pharma is also capable of using divine arts, which Pharma realizes is like magic, but states that he's forgotten how to use the magic. Hearing this, Lot begins panicking, as it's essential that pharmacists know how to use magic. Knowing that Pharma may get disowned if he doesn't remember quickly, Lot orders Pharma to figure something out, telling Pharma that he had an affinity for water magic. Alone in his room, Pharma begins recounting what Lot had advised him to do, which was to imagine the water forming in his palms. Using his previous life's knowledge of chemicals, Pharma begins imagining the individual atoms and bonds, ultimately forming water in his palms, with his mark glowing bright. Unsure of how to control the water magic, Pharma rushes to his window, firing the spell off into the garden, allowing the spell to naturally run out. Noticing Lot in the garden, Pharma apologizes for getting her soaked, but Lot is just happy to see her master has remembered how to use magic. Thinking about how he used water magic, Pharma begins creating all sorts of materials, like gold and sugar, but notes that he can only create basic material, and not mixtures. Additionally, his left hand is used to create the material, whilst his right hand deletes the material. Hearing a knock at the door, Pharma quickly cleans up his work, greeting Lot, who rushes to Pharma celebrating the fact that Pharma remembers how to use magic. Suddenly stopping, Lot wonders if Pharma had forgotten his medicinal knowledge as well, warning Pharma that his father quizzes him often out of nowhere. Brought to a study room, Pharma is impressed, as his father expects him to memorize all the books, even at such a young age. Reading through, Pharma realizes that he recognizes the images and words, as this body had memorized the knowledge before, plus this world's knowledge of medicine, is far inferior to his previous life's knowledge of medicine. Called to the dining room, Pharma greets his family, who all ask if Pharma has recovered. Putting their worries at ease, Pharma watches as his family cheerfully enjoys dinner, feeling sad to have stolen this young boy's body. Out of nowhere, his father asks him about the medicine used to treat his injuries, which catches him off guard, but thinking for a second, Pharma nonchalantly replies with the answer his father was looking for. Satisfied, his father states that Pharma will be resuming his lessons with Eleanor. The next day, Pharma sits across from Eleanor, who is suspicious of Pharma's new personality, calling Pharma out for being too formal with her. Reintroducing herself as Pharma's father's greatest student, Eleanor Bonifoyle, or Ellen for short. As Ellen continues to press Pharma for acting suspicious, uses the excuse of being struck by lightning as a means to get Ellen to back off. Feeling bad, Ellen states that for today, they should revisit the types of magic in this world, adding that each person has a guardian deity. For Pharma's brother and his father, they both share the deity Paniktheos. For Ellen, it's Hydrotheos. Continuing, Ellen states that the types of magic that exist in this world are fire, water, earth, wind, and none. Asking about none magic, Ellen states that none magic is non-standard magic, but it's been 300 years since someone was seen with such magic. Asking about creation magic, Pharma learns that his creation and destruction magic is on par with a god or monster. Finding a lake, Ellen says they'll begin magic training, reminding Pharma that people use wands as a means to amplify one's magic. Showing off a water spear spell, Ellen channels mana into the wand, shooting a long-ranged water spell. Up next, Ellen instructs Pharma to imagine the same spell, lending Pharma her wand. Without an incantation, Pharma begins picturing the spell, which sends a huge surge of mana into the wand, unleashing a powerful water spear, blowing everything back. Shocked at Pharma's huge magic output, Ellen decides to check Pharma's magic capacity, believing that it has changed somehow. Grasping a magic stick, Pharma sees the tip of the magic stick glow white, sending shivers into Ellen, who realizes that Pharma has so much magic capacity that the stick cannot determine his limit. Making Pharma promise to not reveal this to anyone, they head back, with Pharma helping Ellen, who had broken her glasses. Recommending Ellen use her fingers to make temporary glasses, Pharma suddenly sees one of Ellen's fingers glow, wondering if she had sprained it. When Pharma asks if Ellen had sprained her finger, Ellen begins to shake, remembering stories of the guardian deity Paniktheos, being able to judge any illness, with its all-seeing eyes. On top of that, Ellen realizes that Pharma doesn't have a shadow, running off, fearing that she may be in the presence of a god. After scaring Ellen away, Pharma is brought to his father's office, learning that Ellen had suddenly decided to quit her role of teaching Pharma. When his father asks if Pharma knows of Ellen's sudden strange behavior, Pharma feigns ignorance, suggesting that she may be sick. Believing Ellen is sick, his father asks that Pharma deliver medicine to her, attaching a note to the package. All alone, Pharma inspects the medicine, realizing that his father's medicine prescription will do nothing to help Ellen's sickness, so Pharma decides to create medicine from his previous life, even providing instructions on how to take the new medicine. Visiting Ellen, Pharma is shocked to see Ellen has covered herself in armor, accusing Pharma of attempting to eliminate her, since she now knows Pharma is very powerful. Pharma reassures her that he's here on behalf of his father, giving Ellen the medicine his father has prescribed to her. Suddenly, Ellen gets frightened, believing Pharma is trying to poison her, but Pharma denies it, giving her some ointment to help with her injured finger, along with the medicine he had created himself. Getting to the point, Pharma states that he really wants Ellen to return to being his teacher, as he truly means no harm. Seeing Ellen kneel before him, Pharma continues to empathize how he wants her to continue to teach him, passing down her knowledge, and that she can treat him like any of her other students. As Ellen hesitates to respond, Pharma takes it as a sign for him to leave. Apologizing for scaring her, Pharma gifts Ellen some blue flowers, as a farewell gift, wishing her well, and promising to never disturb her again. That evening, Ellen sits alone, pondering if she should take the medicine Pharma had made for her, suspicious of the powdered medicine, as she's unaware of any medicine in powdered form. Thinking deeply on her decision, she suddenly glances at the flowers Pharma gifted her, realizing that she has never heard of a deity harming humans, meaning if Pharma were the deity Paniktheos, there would be no harm continuing to teach. The next day, Ellen greets Pharma, still wearing her heavy armor as a precaution. Asking why she had changed her mind, Pharma learns that Ellen feels responsible for Pharma, not only knowing his secret, but also close enough that Pharma will listen to her. Additionally, Ellen thanks Pharma for his powdered medicine, which was bitter, but helped with her recovery from her sickness, faster than Pharma's father's medicine. Just like that, Ellen decides that their class today will be held on an uninhabited island, allowing Ellen to get a gauge of Pharma's abilities, whilst hiding his power from others. With her armor off, Ellen starts from the basics, teaching Pharma basic water and ice manipulation, each time, blown away with the sheer power each of Pharma's spells create. Discouraged as he's unable to control his magic, Pharma is cheered up by Ellen, who states that she'll continue to practice with him until he gets a grasp of his skills. Back at home, Pharma sits upon stairs with a diary, using his unique skill to observe the maids and butlers of his households. Every time he uses his skill, he sees a spot of someone glow blue, signaling that there is an issue in that area, but upon identifying the thing causing the issue, the blue area glowing becomes white, signaling that Pharma has figured out the issue. Since Pharma has a massive amount of knowledge on different types of medical conditions and how to treat them, Pharma is using his skill along with his knowledge to help treat others. Since Pharma is quite an anomaly in this world, he knows that if his power is discovered, he would most likely be arrested and experimented on. Therefore it's best that he make a name for himself, as a way to ensure he has value in this world. Heading to his father's laboratory, Pharma is impressed at how the room has every tool you could ask for, as a pharmacist creating medicine. Starting with Lot's dry hands issue, Pharma begins imagining the oils needed for hand cream, noting that all he needs to do to create materials is to imagine the chemical structure of the material he wants. Using knowledge from his past life, Pharma begins creating various other substances, fusing them together to ultimately recreate hand cream. Immediately heading to Lot, she's shocked to receive medicine from Pharma, learning that the hand cream will help with her dry skin. Moving on to the others Pharma had diagnosed, they all are in shock, having never received medicine from a noble before. Pharma learns that since Pharma's father is a noble, they never treat commoners, which makes Pharma enraged, as commoners are unable to receive essential medicine simply because of social status and the pricey medicine. The next day, Pharma enters the dining hall, but wonders where his little sister, Blanche, is, learning that she has caught chickenpox. Immediately thinking of the dangers of chickenpox, Pharma wonders how similar this world's diseases are to his old world's ones. Pharma's father demands that no one is to come into contact with Blanche for 3 weeks, fearing that she'll infect others, but hints at the fact that he'll allow Pharma to spend time with Blanche, as Pharma had already contracted the chickenpox when he was younger. Warning Pharma to be careful, Pharma notes how amazing his father is, as in his past life, it was only recently that chickenpox was discovered to re-emerge, even if someone had already grown immune to it. Heading to the lab, Pharma decides to create medicine to combat chickenpox. Imagining the individual atoms that make up the medicine, Pharma whips up a quick solution, quickly sneaking into Blanche's room, whilst no one is watching. Seeing his sister in such a poor state, Pharma attempts to give Blanche the medicine, but she rejects the offer, fearing the bitter taste. Placing the medicine in a macaron, Pharma gets Blanche to eat the medicine, sitting to have a chat with her. Asking Blanche to keep this medicine a secret from their father, Pharma instructs Blanche to not scratch her itches, surprised that no one in this world is aware of viruses and bacteria. As Pharma reads Blanche a story, she notes how strange Pharma is, as he had never spent time with her before, but nonetheless, she still loves him, reminding him of his previous life's deceased sister. Several days later, their father is shocked to see Blanche's speedy recovery, wondering how such a thing is possible. As Pharma returns to the lab, he wonders why he was given such power, especially at no cost to his body. Setting the negative thoughts aside, Pharma crafts a handheld microscope, which will help with discovering illnesses, but is suddenly called to his father's office. Wondering the reason for the sudden summon, Pharma learns that he'll be following his father to visit the royal family, all whilst his father begins coughing profusely. Attempting to understand the situation, Pharma learns that Her Majesty is suddenly ill, but gets distracted when he notices his father, Bruno, coughing so much. Before Pharma can use his all-seeing eye on Bruno, Bruno orders Pharma to get ready, as they'll be heading out immediately. Upon heading to the royal family's home, Bruno greets one of Her Majesty's advisors, taken into her room, where tens of doctors are presumably here to help Her Majesty. Heading straight in front of Her Majesty's bed, Bruno announces himself, which allows him to then check on the Queen. Learning her name is Elizabeth II, Pharma watches as Bruno performs various checks and analysis, even sampling Her Majesty's blood, and using magic to perform tests. Leaving Elizabeth for now, Bruno speaks with some others, all coming to the conclusion that her time is near, and there is nothing they can do. Heading to create a temporary solution, Pharma learns that when people are beyond saving in this world, They are pumped with anesthesia, as a means to ensure they pass without any pain. Before Elizabeth is given the anesthesia, Elizabeth asks if she is beyond saving, but he lies, reassuring her that he has magical medicine that'll save her. Looking around the room, Pharma listens to the closest people to the Queen, deemed the smartest, accept Elizabeth's death by tomorrow. Adding the Queen's pained face, Pharma is prompted to act, activating his all-seeing eye. Spotting the cause of the illness, Pharma assumes it's a basic infection of the lungs, but by listing possible causes, Pharma realizes that it's tuberculosis, also known as the White Death. Knowing this world doesn't have advanced technology to inject medicine, Pharma knows that he'll have to come up with a medicine that is easily digestible, but it won't be easy, as the compound he's thinking of is very complex. Suddenly, Elizabeth's son barges in, running to Elizabeth's side. Seeing Elizabeth unable to muster up the courage to even comfort her son, Pharma now has no reason to sit by. Stepping up, Pharma personally speaks with Elizabeth, asking that he be given a chance to offer up a solution of his own. With Bruno and Elizabeth's advisor being against it, Elizabeth disagrees, revealing that she herself used to be the best doctor in the kingdom, and that she trusts Pharma's words. With permission, Pharma immediately heads to a lab, blocking off the door with ice, to ensure he's not disturbed. Wanting his medicine to be able to kill off the infection for good, Pharma begins imagining the medicine's atomic structure, slowly piecing together the individual atoms, but before he can finish, is interrupted by Bruno. Bursting through the door, Bruno states that Pharma should not be giving Elizabeth false hope, as such an illness cannot be cured. Bruno reveals that he's aware of the White Death, impressing Pharma, as he was able to deduce so, even with low-tier equipment. Bruno asks the Pharma think of the patient, as sometimes, the best cure for an incurable patient is to put them to rest, without any harm. Refusing to accept such a solution, Pharma states that he knows that Bruno is infected with the White Death as well, turning back around, attempting to continue to create his medicine. But Bruno once again interrupts. This time Bruno demands to know what Pharma is creating, or else it might as well be poison. Seeing Pharma hesitate, Bruno begins shooting icicles at the lab, intending to destroy it, but Pharma replies, projecting an ice wall, protecting his equipment, and separating them. Seeing Pharma use an incantless spell, Bruno demands to know who he is, but Pharma does not answer. Seeing Pharma's journal, Bruno reads through the books, unable to believe Pharma had created medicine he's never heard of before. Seeing the mark of Panictheos glow bright on Pharma, Bruno becomes convinced of Pharma's words, amazed that his son would be blessed by a deity. Wanting Bruno to take the credit for his medicine, Bruno refuses, stating that as a pharmacist, they are to take credit for their own work, but they must also suffer the consequences if they make a mistake. Hearing Bruno's words, Pharma takes down the ice wall, shocking Bruno, as Bruno knows of Pharma's positive water attribute, which involves creating ice, but knows no one can have both positive and negative elemental attributes, the ability to create and destroy. Wanting to know who Pharma really is, Pharma can't tell the entire truth, resolving to state that he's indeed Bruno's son. Returning back to the Queen's room, Pharma walks by many doctors, skeptical of his medicine, and mocking him for wearing a mask. Chatting with the Queen's advisor, he too is skeptical, but the Queen eventually calls for Pharma to present his medicine. Off to the side, the advisor and Bruno chat, with Bruno admitting that Pharma's abilities most definitely have surpassed his. With Pharma unveiling what he will be serving Her Majesty, he first gives some context, using a sample of Elizabeth's blood, and putting it through his handheld microscope, to show the bacteria causing the White Death. With the Queen shocked, she shows it to not only her advisor, but every other doctor in the room. Continuing, Pharma explains the concept of bacteria, and how these little organisms are the cause of the White Death. Hearing Pharma's explanation, the Queen notes how his concept of bacteria has never been heard before, but seeing the determination in Pharma, the Queen can't help but believe him. Placing the medicine in some wine, Pharma takes a sip of the medicine first, showing that it's not poisoned. Before the Queen takes her dose, Pharma states that he will stake his life and reputation, to ensure the Queen is cured, as she'll be fully cured after 6 months. After the Queen takes the medicine, Pharma announces to everyone that, with this medicine curing the White Death, it'll mark the beginning of an evolution in medicine. On the carriage ride home, Pharma and Bruno sit in silence, all whilst Bruno thinks about how much Pharma has changed, ever since the lightning strike. When they arrive home, Pharma gives Bruno a dose of the same medicine, asking that he trust him. Knowing that Pharma is blessed by Panictheos, Bruno states that he trusts Pharma, but Pharma reveals that although he's blessed with knowledge of medicine, it was Bruno that taught him how to talk and treat patients. To hear his very own son acknowledge him as a father, Bruno can't help but thank Pharma. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like and comment.